Hey, Maurice, can you hear me?
David, you're being heard loud and clear.
Oh, hey, thanks, Michael. Okay, and even though I'll be able to hear you guys, I'm going to turn off my microphone because obviously I'm driving. And but Lillian's going to run the meeting, and I'll just be a voting member today.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thanks.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great, thank you.
Hey, Michael, can you hear me?
It's affirmative, Lillian. I can hear you very
Okay.
well.
I'm sort of like rebooted my computer, so.
Hey, guys.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
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 Good morning.
Hi, David.
Hi, I let Michael and Freddie know that you're going to be running the meeting. I'm driving right now
Okay.
with dogs,
Got it.
but I'll vote. I'll make sure you got a quorum.
Okay.
Good morning.
Hi, Diane.
Hey.
Before they call the roll for everybody who's here, we have a really long agenda because we have items from the last meeting. So before they call the roll and get started, I just want to say that we're going to move really quickly through the agenda. I'm going to keep everybody very short and brief. You should all present all the cases before us kind of very succinctly, what we need to hear, especially around the exterior or site. But please keep your comments really to what we need to hear so we can hear all the items today in respect for those who are
like
on
what?
the agenda. So thank you.
Tell me.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hi.
In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the Codified
Yeah, that is not
of
cool at
Cleveland,
all.
Ohio,
So
1976. Notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order.
Yeah, he
Actions during
sounds
the
like a
meeting
nice kid.
will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote.
Uh-huh.
To ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity.
If he does that to you, you need to tell him, you need to stop.
Somebody
Don't
should
you ever
mute
touch
their-
me again.
Somebody, Wesley
All right?
Harper, somebody should mute
You tell him
their,
that.
somebody.
Don't take that crap from him.
Mr. Harper,
Okay.
can you mute your phone?
Mute their,
Please mute your microphone if you're not talking. Thank you.
In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and acknowledge yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter via our website and email have been considered. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Madam Chairwoman, the meeting is yours.
okay. Call the roll, please.
Bowen,
Present.
Downing,
Present.
Fluker,
Present.
Curry,
Present.
McCray Scott,
Present.
Paul, Slight.
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay. The first item, actually the first few items will be from last week's agenda. So we'll start with Matthew 25 sculpture, When I Was in Prison, seeking final approval. This is at 3389 Fulton. Tara, are you here to present this?
I am here, thank you.
Okay.
Good
Is there
morning,
anyone else?
everyone.
Is there anyone else that's presenting with you?
No, not for this
Yeah.
project.
Just wanted to check. Okay, please, if you don't mind moving pretty quickly through this.
Oh, absolutely. So this project is a project of Community West Foundation, which supports agencies that provide shelter to the homeless, eliminate food insecurity and hunger, support refugees, access to water, mental health and addiction recovery programs, and helping incarcerated individuals enter society. Next slide, please. So this project is actually seeking a retroactive approval. It is already installed at the Family Ministry Center. So it got started because of there's a series of sculptures, Matthew 25. They have 6 total. 4 of those are within landmarks districts and were already approved. And 1 was installed several years ago at one of the downtown churches, and the one we're seeking approval for today is at this particular location. None of them are in design review districts. So the slide you see now is one of the installations that was in front of a church in Bay Village. And it was someone called the police because they thought it was a homeless person on the bench, which is why these sculptures are taking place to basically bring attention to issues that plague our community, as laid out in Matthew 25, chapter 25 and verse 44. Next slide, please. So again, it's just elevating awareness about critical social justice issues. Next slide, please. The artist is Canadian based. His name is Timothy Schmaltz. And these 6 sculptures would make Cleveland the only city outside Rome, Italy, that would have the full collection of the Matthew 25 sculptures by this artist. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, again, it's at 3385 Fulton Road. Next slide, please. The Community Partners Family Ministry Center. This is the actual installation. Each of the sculptures are going to have a informational plaque with QR codes. This is a bronze sculpture with a granite base. The dimensions are 27 by 23 by 7.5 for the artwork, which you see cast at the top, and the pedestal is 42 by 29 by 13. Next slide, please. And this is just some articles about these particular sculptures. Next slide, please.
Tara, not to stop you, these all have been installed?
No, this is the only one that's been installed.
Okay.
Besides the one that was done several years ago at the church, at the old
Okay.
Stone Church. So that was,
There'll be 4 more, basically.
yeah, and they're in a landmarks district.
Okay. Commission members? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Can we call the roll? Or if there any discussion before you want to call the roll? The only thing I'll say before you call the roll is just in the future, obviously we don't want to do these retroactively. So just want to state that for the record.
Right, and I did speak to them about that.
Okay.
They should have come before the body before installing this.
Yep. Okay. Michael, you want to call the roll?
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
The next item is Black Family When I Get Home mural. This is at 3859 Superior Avenue. Joyce is here from Midtown. Joyce, these are design review items from last week, so I think I have to swear you in. Are you the only one speaking?
I am.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. And I'll move quickly as well. So as you're all familiar with the Cleveland Walls mural program, which installed 19 murals, you can go to the next slide. We learned a lot through this process, including the fact that sometimes murals will have to change locations last minute. So this is coming before the body as a retroactive approval, because the day that the mural festival started, we had to switch this location. So you can see the blue arrow near the bottom pointing to the original location at 36th and Euclid. The new location, and that original location had been approved by the body previously. We had to switch the location to 38th and Superior, which is the blue arrow near the top. Partly what happened was, if you could go to the next slide, the original approved site, which was the side of the building near the top highlighted area, we discovered that the lift that we had ordered would not be able to reach that due to the angle. And in order to really do that mural well, we would have to order a much more expensive lift, $4,000 more. And so the artist and his crew ended up deciding to switch to the back of the building, which you see the highlighted area here. Long story short, Midtown received an email from a neighboring entity, not legally, but essentially requesting a cease and desist because they didn't want any more public art, specifically on this building and next to them. And so we were scrambling that day to find a new location. Thankfully, if you go to the next slide, the crew member had a good relationship with the owner of Yonder on Superior Avenue, and so therefore was able to receive permission from that property owner to install the following mural, which is by Antoine Washington, called Black Family When I Get Home. So if you can go to the next slide, you'll see the finished product. It's beautiful. It was an amazing experience for Antoine and his crew. The owner of Yonder loves it, and it's over the process of installation, there have been amazing comments from the community. And so this is what it is now. The only issue I want to raise is that, we were not expecting neighbors to comment on not wanting more public art in the neighborhood. And then maybe that's on me, but, it did create an additional hardship specifically for this artist of color who already was struggling to find a location. So my only comment is, what role do neighboring entities have in disproving murals that don't belong to their property? But that is all. This is the mural that's presented before you for retroactive approval.
Commission members?
I move approval. Downing.
Second, Fluker.
Motion and a second. Any other comments or before we call the
Can we
roll?
discuss, Lily, and I want to make sure I understand what was happening. So it was moved because the previous location, another property owner was opposed to the approved location.
Sounds like it.
Yes.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if people want public art on their property, they're entitled to have public art on their property. And if they've gone through the appropriate approvals from the city of Cleveland, then neighbors don't have any ability to veto that. So that's my stance. I think that's a slippery slope. I think people have property rights in the city of Cleveland, and I don't want that to start to be. I understand why it was done in this situation. But I don't want it to be setting any sort of precedent.
Absolutely. We're on the same page. Thank you, Councilman.
Agreed. Michael, can you call the roll?
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Hello?
Okay, lot splits and consolidations, permanent parcel number 003322097. This is at 1745 West 31st Place. Do we have Kevin here for this? Kevin Robinette? All right, let's hold this one and keep going. We'll come back later.
Just let me remind people that are on the phone, it's *6 to unmute. In case Mr. Robinette is on the phone, it's *6 to unmute.
How do I get to *6?
Oh, there, now we can hear you. Go ahead.
We can already hear you.
Can you? Okay.
Sorry, all right, let's keep going. All right, Kevin, go ahead, take it away.
Yes, could we go to the last slide, please, Michael? One more. This one. I believe this best represents the project. This is a site plan of what's being proposed. The owner currently owns a 4-suite apartment building, which is at the upper part of the site. And this site currently consists of 3 lots. The apartment building to the north, the parking lot servicing the apartment building in the middle, and a vacant lot, which is used as a landscape element to the south. The proposed project is to create 2 living units on the site, one at the street, one at the rear. The floor plan configuration is shown at the lower part of the site plan. The premise is that the lot is split, and subsequently the parking lot in between the apartment building and the 2-unit proposed residence, there's an easement which allows for access to the garages to the 2-unit residence. Any questions on the overall layout?
Is there any context?
Yes, if we could go back to the top of the presentation, please. This is the existing context. At the upper left-hand corner is the 4-suite apartment building. The middle photo is the vacant lot. The upper right-hand corner is the property to the south of the proposed 2-unit residence. And the photos at the lower row are directly across the street.
Not to belabor this, but you guys know where I stand. When I say context, I need to see the neighborhood. But given that this seems to appear to fit within the context, I vote to approve the lot split.
So we have a
I'll
motion
second.
and a second. Was that, okay,
Downing.
Scott? Oh, Downing, second. Any other discussion?
Chair, this is Kerry McCormick. How are you? Can I just have 2 seconds?
Sure. Hi, Gary.
Good morning. I just wanted to speak out in favor of this. This has been through our neighborhood block club. It was supported by our neighborhood block club. For transparency purposes, I live 2 doors down, but I have no interest in this project, nor do I share a property line. But just wanted to say that this went through our neighborhood process and was supported.
Thank you, Carrie. Important. So we have a motion and a second. Michael, can you call the roll?
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Okay. We're still in last week's items, and I think we have some design review cases. So I'm going to need to swear the next few cases in. The first one is in the Northeast, St. Francis School electronic sign message seeking final approval, 7119 Superior Avenue. Is Charles here to speak, or anyone else here to speak?
Yes, Charles is here.
Okay, and if it's just you, I will swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, take it away.
Okay, last time we was with the design committee, they needed us to get some spaces filled in around the digital sign. If you go to the new design that Rick from Adams Sign Company has sent to you guys, this is not it. Could you go to the next slide, please? Next slide. Okay, this slide here. Oh, go back one, please. I'm sorry. This is looks like the new design. Okay, they just wanted us to fill in around the sign, and send the schematics in, and we're just waiting on approval to have a digital sign built in that little section. They just said to make sure that we get that we were satisfied with the perimeter of the sign and the spaces that need to be filled in. So we came up with that new design, and we was expecting to have approval on that.
Has this been approved by local design review? I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
Staff. Okay. Okay.
I move approval. Downing.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Fluker.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, can we call the roll?
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
And
Yes.
okay, thank you. And thank you for your patience. I know that we should have been able to get to that one last week. So thank you for your patience and for coming back this week. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for you guys' help.
Thanks, you're welcome. This is the next item. We have Antonio Marinucci here. Anyone else speaking to this matter?
I am here. This is Antonio Marinucci. I am not sure if the clients are on the call.
Okay, well, I'll need to swear you in before we go in. This is Harbor View 44, and this is at 2035 West 44th Street. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. We've seen this one, right? So this is for schematic approval, but I believe we've seen this one before, so you can move pretty quickly.
Okay, yes, we did see it 2 weeks ago. This is a proposal for in 12-unit apartment building and an 11-unit townhome development on West 44th Street, just south of Lorraine Avenue in Ohio City. Next slide, please. Giving context to that location, We're immediately south of Lorraine, north of 90 on West 44th. Next slide. Just zoomed in. Next slide. The first phase of this project was a retail building, a 2-story retail and office space building at the corner of Lorraine and 44th that wrapped construction earlier this or late in the summer. Sherwin-Williams is the tenant, the anchor tenant on the corner. So this is a continuation of development on 2 vacant blocks immediately to the south. Harbor Flats, the 12-unit apartment building, will be the northern block, and Harbor Row, the townhome development, will be the southern block. Next slide, please. Again, the context of that new construction building, as well as the edge of the southern lot that you can see there looking north towards Lorraine. Next slide. The current conditions of that northern lot. Next slide, please. And the southern lot. It does have 2 existing attached row homes that are historic. And then the surrounding context of West 44th Street, very typical Ohio City kind of context. Next slide, please. And this is a little bit more interior look as we move towards West 42nd Street. Again, very typical Ohio City multifamily and single family homes. So this is a site plan for the Harbor Flats. The goal of the project is to create a gradient from that retail commercial corridor into the residential portions of the neighboring context. The 12-unit building will feature 3 different apartment types: studio, 1-bedroom, and 2-bedroom, offering with the goal of hitting different price points and entry points for renters in the neighborhood. The building also is designed to screen 30 parking spaces at the eastern side of the lot, which is a part of the requirement per land bank in partnership with this project. Next slide, please. This is just a schematic level view of that elevation and the floor plans for reference if needed. I'm going to keep going through because I have more views of this later. Next slide, please. The southern block is the Harbor Row site plan. We have 7 2-bedroom townhomes that are going to front that West 44th Street, 2 coupled, 1 tripled, to kind of break up that townhome blocking. And then on the rear of the site, the eastern edge, we're proposing 4 traditional MU homes with surface parking to kind of create the historic alley condition that is seen throughout Ohio City. Next slide. And again, looking at the schematic view of the front West 44th facing townhomes. You can go to the next slide. And floor plans for reference if needed. Next slide. And then the same schematic kind of view for the townhomes, or I'm sorry, the MU homes. Next slide, please. And the plans for reference. Next slide. Getting into sort of the aesthetic direction we'd like to take it. The Flats project will feature black hardy board and an ivory brick, and then continuing the sort of similar aesthetic as we get into the townhomes, black brick cladding, hardy board cladding, and standing seam aluminum roof, trying to take a modern kind of Federalist approach with the aesthetic. This part of the project is not in the historic district, but we wanted to sort of take the same forward-facing design that would have fit into the historic context regardless. Next slide, please. And then for scale, as we move down, they're pretty compatible with the existing construction that was just completed. Moving towards the flats, I think it's about a foot taller. Next slide, please. And then moving from the flats to the townhome portion of the construction. Next slide, please. And then as we turn the corner, showing the side view of those townhomes as we step into the new portion, and you can see how we feel that the project fits in the surrounding context in terms of, creating that gradient of scale.
Antonia, just to stop you, were there any comments from the local design review? And I don't know if Carrie's still on, but if Carrie wants to speak to this.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Just very quickly, because I know we're on a tight timeline. This is the entryway or exit, either way you look at it, of our neighborhood. And it has been a vacant and or blighted section of our neighborhood for far too long. We're thrilled with the project at the corner of Lorraine, and fully support what's in front of you today. I think it was very tastefully done. Takes into consideration the urban fabric around it, as well as a blend of urban and modern design. I'm not a trained designer though, so I'll leave that up to you. But from a general perspective, this is going to be a welcomed improvement on a major corridor coming through the Ohio City neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thanks. And I think that, I don't know if Matt Moss is on the call, but last week or 2 weeks ago, he also spoke that city planning was in favor. We worked closely with city planning and OCI on developing these plans.
Yep, and Freddie made that comment in the chat as well. So commission members, any questions or concerns?
This is schematic approval?
Yeah.
I would like to see further how they're addressing the drive court, relative to fenestration and articulating how pedestrians might, navigate that space with vehicles. So
Okay.
hopefully that'll be
your motion. So when they come back for final,
yes.
sound the motion.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I move to approve with the caveat that the applicant and their client investigate ways of improving the drive court, and they present those as a part of the presentation. Thank you.
I'll second Downing.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? So yeah, just come back with those details. But I also think, you're pretty far along. I mean, we need to see the final details in landscaping, but it's an extraordinarily nice project. So thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, you want to call the roll?
Owen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Like.
Yes.
Thank you. And thanks for your patience from last week. So this is a parking structure at 106th and Chester, or 10600 Chester. The project address is 10590 Chester. David, are you the only one here from Bioloski to speak?
David's actually not here. I'll be presenting on his behalf for Bioloski today.
Who are you?
Christopher Persons.
Christopher Persons. All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. And if you could move through pretty quickly and share, especially this is final approval. So just share with us, any comments from the local or the Euclid corridor, and we can move pretty quickly.
Right. Good morning. So yes, quick reminder, this is seeking final approval for this parking garage as part of the larger Circle Square development and services the Artisan Tower, which is immediately adjacent, the MLK Library, and the Library Loss Building, which is across Reserve Court to the south, and is submitted separately from the streetscapes and infrastructure. Next slide, please. So these plans, together with the other two, are just showing the connections to the Artisan and the future phase. You can see the connection at the level 3 here to the Artisan. Next slide, please. This is showing the parking count. This garage has 200 spaces. Next slide, please. The material palette we're looking at is a tensile cool gray fabric screen. It's complementing the warm gray concrete structure. The art accents that we're looking at are introducing nice pops of color. The stair at the southwest or southeast corner of the structure is light and glassy. It's going to be an inviting main entry point to the pedestrians, which is something that was a main design feature that we wanted to incorporate and was brought up with Euclid Corridor because this is going to be visible from Reserve Court, which you'll see in a later rendering. Reminder that the artwork, what you're seeing in pink here, will be submitted separately for approval at a later date. So what you're seeing will be a placeholder. Next slide, please. So here you'll see the elevations. You again can see that pink highlights together with the large P at the lower elevation. That is also a placeholder that we'll submit later for final approval. Next slide, please. So in this rendering, it's important to note that developers have reduced the levels to 4 to better serve the current parking need. They reduced it from 6 to 4 to serve the current phase need, and then the future phase will serve that phase's need at the later date. So this is the view from East 105th, the currently completed opportunity corridor side. So you can see this as well as the future phase, which is highlighted there as well behind. Next slide, please. This rendering is from across the street to the south, Reserve Court. This is what you would see from the MLK Library and Library Lofts. You can see the stair tower, which is again, a very light, glassy, clean architecture. And next slide, please. And then you can see where it connects to the future phase, which will have the same architectural feel to it, but we envision incorporating lots of glass and some of the similar screening to the parking garage there, but it'll be a little bit taller. Next slide, please. There should be one more.
No, that's all I have.
Okay. Any comments from sort of staff or design review that we need to be aware of?
Was approved as presented by the Euclid Corridor Committee.
Okay, thank you.
I move to approve as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second by McCray Scott. Any other discussion before we call the roll? I'll just say it's nice to see cranes out there, and it's nice to see it going up fast. So,
Yes, very fast.
all right, Michael?
Owen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
The next item, I have a conflict, so Diane is going to chair this one. I will just swear Jeffrey in before, if you can go back to the next slide, because she'll read the item. But Jeffrey, are you the only one here to speak?
If Ivan Valentik, and I can't see from my screen if he's on the meeting or on the call or not.
Okay, well, if he is, then he just can say aye too. So
Okay.
do you both swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to turn this over to Diane, and I'm going to abstain.
Okay, thank you. Could you go back to the first slide so I can read it, please? Thank you. Okay, EC 2021-026, Fine Arts Garden Extension, seeking final approval, project location, Chester Avenue, between Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Stokes Boulevard. Project representative have been sworn in from the Cleveland Museum of Art. Take it away, Jeffrey.
Great. So this is a project located in a kind of orphan piece of the Fine Arts Garden, and I'll show you what that means. But ever since the foundation of the garden, which was a partnership between, it was actually the Garden Club of Cleveland and the City of Cleveland, and is now under the jurisdiction of the Fine Arts Garden Commission, has been cared for since 1928. Next slide. Here's the parcel before it was separated by Chester. And this is a move, this in 1928, the Olmsted brothers did not oppose this because it gave them a very symmetrical terminus to their garden design. Next slide. And here is a view of it with Chester cutting through there. But you can see it is a parcel that we have continued to mow and care for ever since the 1920s. Next slide. So the Northeast Ohio Sewer District, as you all know, have a very large mitigation project going on, and that's really what spurred this thing. They had an amount in their budget for the project to rehabilitate the property once their infrastructure was in place. We felt that it was an opportunity, really, to kind of, since this is ultimately going to be kind of the hub of this district once it's developed, to perhaps achieve more goals than the district had identified in the beginning. Next slide. This is just more about their mitigation project. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. But on the right, yeah, it's okay. So in addition to that, given the activity on the circle between the private development and a project like this, UCI and the Art Museum jointly commissioned Sasaki, or at least each commissioned Sasaki for a look at this whole area and what its potential was in terms of its use. Next slide. Here's a view of the Sasaki kind of master plan of this area. The area labeled D University Circle is one that was just suggested. It's just kind of a framework for the developers, and they seem to be responding positively to that. The David Davis Park is our plots B and C. And then the area we're talking about today is the portion of the Fine Arts Garden. It's labeled A. Next slide. So here's on the left is the master plan's version of the development of this site. Due to budget constraints on this thing, even though we've like tripled the amount we're putting into it, we could not put all of the elements that were in the kind of proposal from Sasaki. So on the right is Sasaki's version of a pared down one that accomplishes all of the goals of those that are contributing to the project. And then the next slide, if you would. Oh, this is a new one. Yvonne, do you want to speak to this one?
Yeah, maybe go to the next slide. I'm not sure how that got in there.
Yeah. The illustrative plan doesn't seem to be in there, but yeah, go ahead and back up.
Oh, yeah, if you could go back. I apologize, I'm not sure. So this is, I guess, more of a updated plan of where we're at. We have been working with the sewer district to kind of refine their area, and working internally with our group with CMA to refine our the plaza area. So couple of things what we've done here along MLK. We've added a sidewalk on the entire length of MLK. That was one of the comments we received, and incorporated a sidewalk along MLK. The sewer district site is the pavement shown there in gray is actually going to be a grass paver. So it's going to look like a lawn, but it'll be a service drive for them to service their equipment in that area. Most of the equipment is below grade. A few of the manholes are at grade, and there's electric controls that are fenced in above grade, and we're looking to screen in the electric controls that are on site, which are already installed. If you drive by, you can see those out there. They'll enter the site for maintenance off of MLK. There'll be some bollards that are removable, so it's not a day-to-day. Folks can't pull through the site, and they'll exit onto Euclid Avenue. Along Euclid Avenue, I mean, this is where we're opening up the park really to the public, kind of making a grand plaza area, and really trying to pull people into the site on that corner of Chester and Euclid Avenue, redoing all those concrete in that area, but also as you lead up to the monument, creating a Paver Plaza area with some benches and seating, a landscaped, island that serves as a plinth to the statue. The Hannah statue is existing out there, and we're looking to maintain that statue. Some of the pavement around it, we're going to restore the pavement around that statue that's existing. And then the trail that it's existing is asphalt trail. We're going to just mill and repair the asphalt portion of that trail and add a lot of landscaping to the area. You can see that the planting and the sidewalk, there's a little bit of an arch to it. Again, that's into reference to the old right-of-way for the trolley turnaround that was in this area. If you go to the next slide. This is just an idea of some of the finishes of the materials. The old world bench that's out there now, we're looking to get new benches and refurbish the ones that are out there. The bike racks will be in the same family. And then the upper picture shows you what the grass pavement could look like for the sewer district area. Again, we want it to all look like an open lawn area. I do want to say we did receive 2 additional comments during our submittal process. One was to add an educational sign, informational sign near the sewer district improvements, which we plan on doing and are coordinating that with the district. And the other comment we received was to add potential seating near that open lawn portion of the project along the trail. And we're looking to add some benches there as well. We previously focused the seating mostly around the statue area. Here, yes, you can go to the next slide. Yeah, and then so this just gives you, this was the original rendering by Sasaki, which shows kind of with the master plan and the intent. You can see the arch there and how it all kind of ties back to that center of the roadway and an homage to the previous right of way, and how the statues kind of all work together. And then if you go to the next slide, it drops you down into the site. It gives you a sense of what it's going to look like. This was the original design, but not a lot has changed in this area. Again, you see the landscape bed that's serving as a plinth to the statue and highlighting the statue in this area, and the Paver Plaza around the statue still our intent. The only difference really in our design is that wall that you see behind it. Again, as Jeffrey stated, there was some changes to the project because of budget, and that wall was one of those items. But we're gonna provide that same line with sidewalk and landscape. And a lot of the trees you see here are existing in this rendering, and we plan on keeping almost all the trees and kind of going in and limbing and cleaning out those trees and giving that a nice high canopy through the site. And that's what we have today for you to consider for approval.
Commission members?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
It's approved. Thank you very much. Looks
Thank you.
lovely.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Right.
Lillian, I'm turning it back to you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're going to the downtown flats design review. This is St. John's Cathedral Monument Sign 1007 Superior Avenue. This project was approved May 7th with condition that the city create a policy regarding live streaming. The revised submittal was tabled on August 6th. So Terry Fields, are you here to speak?
He is not, but I am here. My name is Tony Hulsman.
Okay. I will swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, or you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. So if I understand correctly, just so I know you don't need to represent this, is that was tabled again on August 6th. And I know there was a size change, if I remember correctly. Are we hearing this just to know that you will or won't be doing live streaming on that?
Well, what the plan, there will be live streaming. I think the intent was that it was going to be only events from within the cathedral, and it would be masses or holiday masses. There would be idle times, that there wouldn't be live streaming, and there wouldn't be anything at night. But that's what our client is proposing to do.
And Freddie, did staff do any due diligence on this? You want to speak?
Yes, we have. And Shannon Leonard's going to walk you through just a couple of slides to lay out the context and rationale with respect to our position on live streaming and
Okay.
digital signs.
Okay. Be good to see you, Shannon. Can you, Shannon, kind of move pretty quickly through?
Yep, it doesn't appear as though my slides made it into this week's presentation. Oh, yes, here they are. Or maybe. Maurice, can you go forward? I can share my screen if Maurice will allow it. Okay, well, it kind of makes it hard because I'm not really sure why they're not in this presentation. They were in last week's presentation when this was scheduled. So I guess I'll just give some context here. I mean, the pictures probably count. So this was reviewed in May, and you all tabled it so that they could, we could do some type of live streaming policy. There has, however, has been precedent in 2016. You all approved a sign at Fox Sports Ohio at 200 Euclid that is directly over the pedestrian sidewalk and over the entrance to the parking garage. It was a 300 square foot digital display that permits live streaming. It's for a commercial entity. It's live streaming of Fox Sports Ohio, and there were no conditions. In this case, we have a 28 square foot digital sign set in a 100 square foot sign at a religious entity doing live streaming of simply on-site services, masses. And as you can see, it's also set back 35 feet in both directions from the public right-of-way or from the actual street. And these are just some context photos from the applicant themselves showing you the what it would look like from the street while you're driving. It's clearly a pedestrian oriented sign. The other signs that I had presented in my presentation were recent, was precedent really of, you have the Fox Sports Ohio, you have the Cavs totem pole signage that is auto oriented as well as pedestrian oriented. And then you also have some of the digital signage along the casino's parking deck that you can see from I-90. And so in this case, in terms of what the city has done, what the city has right now and what the city is working on in terms of the future sign code is currently the sign code does have regulations against flashing, making sure that the signs aren't looking like traffic signals, so there's no confusion, no major animation, etc. And then future sign code will also work on time, place, and manner, as well as basically give new rules and regulations for these special sign types. So the digital signs, the projecting signs, etc. And right now there is a case in the Supreme Court regarding off-premise and on-premise signage and how much cities can regulate in that regard. But in the case of this specific sign, there's already precedent set in the city for live streaming on commercial entities. And just to kind of clarify, in terms of live streaming and that being, maybe this isn't the sign you're worried about, maybe it's future signs. Live streaming is really regulated by the FCC. And so if you're concerned about every bar and restaurant popping up live streaming, I don't know if that's much of a concern because of the sense that they would have to have some type of licensing and permission to stream to the world events. So a good example is like boxing events that you see that people have to pay to show in a bar or restaurant. They have to pay for as many seats as they have. And so in terms of live streaming to the world, I don't know if that's really something that you're going to see pop up on every corner. If not, we would have already seen it. And so in terms of safety, I think at this corner of East 9th, for the fact that they are set back so far, and they're really only live streaming events that are happening inside the cathedral themselves. This is a religious entity. They're doing live streaming. One could argue that it is a much safer live streaming event than Fox Sports Ohio, which is a commercial entity over the entrance of a parking deck. And so in terms of policies are policies, they're not necessarily law. We do have law right now that does regulate animation to make sure that we are protecting the health, safety, and welfare of citizens at this corner.
Thank you, Shannon. So I assume that is your recommendation is to approve this and from your analysis.
That's correct.
Okay. Commission members?
I move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Before we take the roll, I just want to say thank you for doing this research and work. I think it's important. It's a very, very fast moving and convoluted space, signage. So I think we do need to stay on top of it, but I really appreciate the work you, Freddie and Shannon did on this. So thank you.
And I'd like to echo that. It was a very clear outline and I appreciate it. Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion before we take the roll? And to the applicant, I also want to say thank you for your patience with us and coming back multiple times as we're figuring out this precedent. So I thank you for your patience too.
That's no problem. And I would like to thank Shannon as well.
So, good. All right, call the roll.
Thank you.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing, Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, the last of last week. So the award goes to the NBI All-Star Signage for being the most patient. This is from the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission. Mike, anyone else presenting on your end?
Yes, good morning. Karen Barbaran from the NBA is with us, Tracy Merrick from the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Alex Harness from Destination Cleveland are here with me.
Okay, I'm going to swear you in as a group, so you can all say aye after I get done. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, take it away. And thank you very much for your patience.
You bet. You bet. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. So yes, we're here. Hopefully everyone on the call knows that February 18th through the 20th, we will be welcoming the NBA in town for their 75th anniversary of the NBA and 3-day extravaganza. And we're here to present the city decor and signage plan. Next slide, please. And next slide. So just for context, and then I'll turn it over to Karen from the NBA. There will be 3 primary campuses that will be activated throughout the city. One will be in and around the convention center and public auditorium, which will serve as the primary fan event. And then, of course, around the Gateway District and Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. And then over to the east, the Wolstein Center serves as the secondary arena for the NBA All-Star Game. And so a lot of activities happening around there. All told, this will generate about $100 million in economic activity for our community, and it will also be an opportunity to showcase Cleveland, not only nationally, but actually the event will be broadcast in 215 countries around the world. So great opportunity to show off Cleveland. Next slide. Karen, you're up.
All right, thank you. If I go to the next slide, please. Thank you. And again, thanks to all of you for the opportunity to present. As Mike mentioned, we from the League are super excited and have really enjoyed the collaboration to date with the Cavs, the Sports Commission, and the other city agencies. It's certainly noteworthy for us to be bringing All-Star back to Cleveland, but to come back during such a historic year for the 75th anniversary. I mean, again, we're both just very excited and committed to making this All-Star special for the city, the team, and its fans. Inspiration for the creative elements that you'll see here was drawn in large part from the Cavaliers' visual identity, as well as elements reflective of the city of Cleveland. You'll see from the logo system that, you know, we leaned into the distinctive bold wine and gold colors of the Cavs. We've included the iconic Terminal Tower as a key design element. Additionally, you'll also note that we have incorporated the 3 stars as a nod to the 3 times that the city of Cleveland has hosted the event in the past. Excuse me, all of our branding elements are intended to deliver a unified look. As we roll into market, we obviously want everything to be cohesive and unified across all of our activations and ultimately elevate our presence in the city. One thing important that we wanted to note here, just as it relates to the imagery, All Star is an international voting platform that doesn't actually tip off until December 25th. So to the degree that we're able to sort of represent players, we intend to do that. We are in the planning process. You know, all of the creative messaging and imagery are still in development, primarily based on that voting timeline. We also wanted to note that with regard to placements, please know that we're working with sourcing local vendors. We're working closely with the Sports Commission and DCA to work closely with local companies, and we would certainly defer on all vendor specifications and recommendations, and we'll adhere to all of the city rules as it relates to our branding of the venues. So our presentation has a considerable number of slides. So with respect to the commission members and to later presenters, we'll go through them quickly and highlight, but please at any point stop me if you have any questions on anything specific. So with that, if we could move to the venues, please. Thank you. Next slide, please. Obviously, with Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse as the marquee venue for all-star events, we expect to really dress up the building. We expect to feature the main entrance and place decor in the lower windows. Both the team and the city, I know, are very proud of its transformation, and we hope to fully showcase that with our event branding. If we could scroll through a couple of slides down to the Wolstein Center, please. That will be slide 11 in our presentation. Thank you. This, as Mike mentioned, will be the secondary venue. This will host the Celebrity Game, All-Star Practice, as well as potentially the G League All-Star Game and a new event called the HBCU Classic. Graphics here are focused on the main entrance, but based on how we intend to do our fan flow, we also expect to add supplemental decor around the three remaining guest entrances. Next slide, please. We know that this building is near and dear to you guys, and we absolutely fell in love with Public Hall and are very excited to use it as our fan event venue, hosting NBA crossover. Our plan is to do very special programming within this venue, again, for folks that purchase tickets and experience from a fan perspective. We plan to utilize the little theater and utilize the downstairs for panels and workshops for an elevated fan experience. We are certainly aware of the historical importance in the city, and you can fully expect that we'll adhere to the rules and regulations that Susie Clater has given us as we work to showcase the venue. We're understanding of limitations on the outside and are flexible with our branding treatments, whether that be, you know, again, banners or lighting should you approve. But we're very excited to showcase this particular venue for fans. Next slide, please. We're utilizing the corner alley. We know that both the RNC and Major League Baseball utilized it. We expect to use it similarly as hospitality space, given its location to the arena. Our exterior branding will be consistent with what baseball did, certainly with sensitivity to the elements and the time of year. Next slide, please. We expect to also, we're investigating how to utilize the global center. We know that baseball utilized this as a decor opportunity with event logos, and again, we're sourcing both the opportunity and if we receive permissions, would follow any rules that the venue and the vendor give us. Next slide, please. The Huntington Convention Center, we plan to do special legends programming in this space and expect to do a little decor just on the main entrance. Next slide, please. We anticipate doing holiday activation inside the atrium space of Tower City Center, and as such, hope to do some decor elements at this particular entrance in the lower windows at least. Again, we'll adhere to any rules that that we hear from the venue and the vendor. Thank you. Obviously, this is one that's close to you guys. We know that baseball and the NFL used it, and we will use it in a similar way at All-Star. Similar to NFL, we're working with Mike Dietling and the curators at the Rock Hall for an NBA exhibit as well. And just quickly, you know, while our security perimeters around all venues are in development, we did, you know, just want to let you know that we were going to be utilizing bike rack and fencing, and those will also be graphic. Thank you. Specific to out of home, regarding advertising, I know that I understand that this portfolio of elements has very commonly been used downtown. And again, we're sourcing and securing with the Sports Commission, and we'll utilize local vendors. So with respect to time, I would like to just call out one particular activation, which is the Cleveland script at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, which I believe is slide 30 in our presentation, please. Thank you. And Alex, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, Commissioners. Just wanted to step in. Yeah, this slide right here. So the NBA and the Cavaliers approached Destination Cleveland about the possibility of bringing a script sign to the city-owned property that's directly across Huron from the front door of Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We've agreed to, well, we're working on an agreement to do that. This will be the spare quote-unquote script sign. There, as you know, are 6 locations around the city. We have a 7th physical sign that is constantly being repaired and rotated. So the Cavs are going to borrow that spare for likely, something like the month of February. This is not a permanent installation. We're working with our sign contractor and with a structural engineer to figure out a way to safely and securely install this in a temporary way across the street. And again, this is not a permanent installation of a 7 script sign, but would be sort of a limited edition for All-Star lent out to the Cavs and the NBA. We'll, of course, be working with all of the relevant city departments. I understand that the Cavs already have an agreement to use that space, still in connection with their construction and things, but we'll work with all the relevant departments. So before I throw it back to Karen, any questions about that?
No, thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Alex. If we could actually, and again, I know that you're very familiar with a lot of these positions. If I could skip down to slide 46, please.
Yeah, if you could focus on just anything that might be unusual or that
Yes,
design review had a problem with or something like that. Because I think we know these are temporary signs. So
okay, great, no problem. We'll do just that.
We don't need to go in detail on every one, but if there are any that were issues from design review or that you want to bring awareness to.
No, ma'am. We did call out public auditorium. That was the only thing sort of called out, again, with respect to its historical value in the city, to pay special attention when we work through our branding package. There was the only call out from design review.
Okay.
Mike, did you want to take it from the airports then?
Sure. Yeah, if you could advance the slides to the airports, and really there's not a lot to know. It's a lot of the same things we've done for draft and MLB All-Star.
Do you know the slide number?
So 54.
Yep. But as we know, that is our sort of our first impression and last impression for visitors. So we'll be dressing it up. We'll also be providing activations, a lot of volunteers, live music, all that good stuff out at the airport. So we're working closely with April Harrison and Commissioner Bahur on all of that stuff as well.
Okay, thank you. Commission members, any thoughts?
Move approval, Downing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? I think this is fabulous. I love when you guys do this. I ask this every time we have something. I guess my concern, and you've done this in the past, Destination Cleveland, is to responsibly dispose or reuse these materials at the end so that they're not all going into a landfill. So I suspect you're doing that already, but could you answer that?
Yes, I'll speak to that one. We absolutely are planning on that. We learned a lot with the NFL. They have a really great responsible team, team that works on. They call it NFL Green, and so we worked with a lot of local agencies to repurpose or responsibly recycle materials. So we'll do that again for sure.
Thank you. It's just a lot of material. It's fabulous. I'm very happy for Cleveland, so thank you for that. But I'm glad you guys are addressing it. Any other comments from commission members? Okay, we have a motion and a second. So Michael, can you call the roll?
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, we are now on to the agenda for the day. So we're going to move even quicker. First item is townhouse development in a two-family district, 1907 to 1915 Freeman Avenue. Joe, are you here?
I am here. Hi, everybody.
Good. And okay, so this, since it's townhouse, I don't have to swear you in, but please go ahead.
Okay. I'm Joe Chura. I am owner of 3 of the 4 parcels on the proposed project site, which is on Freeman Avenue in the Duck Island neighborhood of Cleveland. The image that you see up right now is really the image that best tells the story of what I'm attempting to do. The lots here are substandard. They're 28 feet wide by 66 feet deep. The proposal I have is using the townhouse code in what I believe is a pretty creative fashion to allow for density that's appropriate and to allow for a contextual look that I think is very appropriate to the neighborhood. If you can go to the next slide. This is the proposed project site. You can see the 4 lots that I just described. Next slide, please. This is the site with the footprint of the proposed development on it. You can see from this slide that the footprint of the homes is appropriate for what's in the context of the neighborhood. They're not too big, they're not too small. You can also see the common wall aspect of the townhouse code that's applied here. Next slide, please. This is simply a enlarged view of the plan you just saw. The garages are meant to be tandem garages that can either be park 2 cars, or they can park 1 car and have a room with perhaps a door that opens to the patio space in the rear. The patio space in the rear is something that I'm pretty excited about these homes being able to have, especially on such small lots. I think they'll be nice. They're sort of enclosed on 3 sides. Next slide, please. This is a more architectural version of what you just saw. You can see the ground floor is fully activated with the living room at the front of the house. You can see covered porches. Next slide. This is just the upper level. The upper level is the sleeping level. There are 3-bedroom homes. These are the architectural elevations, human scaled materials as the townhouse code requires. I think that's the last of the slides.
Did this go through any local review or staff? Was there any other?
It's been reviewed with Tremont West staff informally, and I am on the December agenda for the Duck Island Block Club meeting.
Okay.
I'm confident that they'll be supportive. I'm very familiar with that block club. I know that they value contextuality and scale, and I think this will be well received.
Okay.
But yes, I fully intend to go through the community review process with the block club and
Okay.
yes.
And Madam Chair, if I may, it was approved by Housing Design Review here at
Okay.
City as well.
All right, thank you. Commission members?
I move approval. Downing.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Fluker.
Second from August. I will say, and open up for any of the comments, I really like the recessed garage. I think this is a very, in my opinion, nice interpretation of the townhouse code that I think respects the street, and even though that you're able to get a garage in there, it's set back. So I thank you for that. And I
Thank you.
think it's a creative solution that is very community oriented. So I appreciate it. Any other comments from commission
Madam
members?
Chair, I'm sorry, I had my hand raised. This
Oh,
is
there
Barry
you
Michael.
go. I was going to ask if you supported this. but I
You
didn't
know
if
what?
you're so
I am doing two screens, so I've got two live meetings going. So please forgive me. This is like the downside of the digital age.
Yes.
No, I'll be very brief, Madam Chair, but I just wanted to speak in support of this project. As you noted, I think this was very thoughtfully and well done. I understand that Mr. Chura, is committed to continuing through the community process with our neighborhood. But again, I think this is an excellent project for the community. And I'm going to embarrass him, so please forgive me in advance. But also, Joe grew up in the neighborhood. And so it's good to see, multi-generational neighborhood residents also participating in the growth of the community. That has no bearing over you, I know, but I just wanted to make that comment. It's good to see it when neighborhood residents are also involved in the growth of the community as well. So, but as a project, Madam Chair, I support this project, and I think it's a appropriate and well-designed addition to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
We have a motion and a second. Commission members, any other comments before we vote? Okay, Michael, can you take the roll?
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Shannon,
Thank you.
before I do this, is this a zoning matter? Do we need to take public comment for this conditional use permit?
Generally, we do, yes.
Okay, so just for the folks in the audience, especially if there's anyone to speak, for this matter, which is 7422 Lorraine Avenue, permanent parcel 006-07-081, which is a zoning matter for conditional use. Shannon will present the case first, and then anyone who is a proponent of the matter will go next, and anyone opposed will go after that. And you'll state your name for the record and your address when you speak. So any testimony will be taken after Shannon, and we'll treat this as a zoning matter. Okay, Shannon, go ahead.
Shannon Leonard, City Planning. Oh, next slide, please. So this is for 7422 Lorraine. This is the home of Richo Studios, which they specialize in school portraits around Ohio, etc. And so really this is just a matter of they own 006-07083, and they've expanded their lot to the parcel that you see here in yellow. This was originally a, can you go back to the last slide, please? Originally a part of the storefront renovation program and a partnership with Detroit Shoreway about 10 years ago. And so they really just expanded this lot one more parcel after they demolished a building at this location. And so this is kind of a forgiveness case. They thought that their folks got permits, and I guess they did not. And so here we are. Next slide, please. And so really this is, oh, where are we going? So they need a conditional use for the off-street parking or loading area within 40 feet. As you can see, the parking is within, I believe, 2.5 to 3 feet off the public sidewalk behind a 7-foot ornamental fence. And again, they're just expanding this lot to exactly mimic what has already been approved 10 years ago. Again, the size, shape, or layout of the subject property does not permit parking in a different area, or it's been demonstrated by the applicant that the placement would jeopardize the continued occupancy of the property. Next slide, please. Again, they use this parking lot for not only just their employees, but also for their vans, because they travel around the state for school portraits. That's their number one mission. And so the second thing, again, this is just showing their off-street parking within the first 40 feet. You can see it's behind a 2.5 to 3 foot buffer with some trees. Next slide, please. And then the second conditional use they need is the driveway across a public sidewalk. This sidewalk driveway is already here. This is actually the only curb cut along this expanse of their parking lot. And again, the size, shape, or layout of this subject property does not permit placement of a driveway in a more suitable location. It's a landlocked business, and it's been demonstrated by the applicant that the placement would jeopardize the occupancy of this building. Next slide, please. And so they just need the conditional uses for off-street parking or loading areas and the driveway across a public sidewalk. They're also scheduled for Board of Zoning Appeals in a couple weeks, really to address this parking lot. The applicant really just followed what they were given as a layout from the storefront renovation program in Detroit Shoreway 10 years ago, not realizing that they were missing some zoning aspects, including the islands, landscaping buffers, etc. And so Mr. Richo is here. He's sick, but if you would like him to speak, I believe he might want to make some comments. I'm not sure, but it's up to you all.
Okay, well, we're going to take testimony so he can speak if he's in favor. So those in favor of this zoning matter can speak now if there's anyone, or if you're representing the project. Okay, anyone opposed to this zoning matter who wants to speak? Okay, since no one wants to speak, we'll close the public portion and commission members ask for your pleasure.
Move approval, Downing.
Second. Slide.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I will say, I know this is after the fact, but as a consolation, I think it's pretty robust. Landscaping, the trees are mature, the fencing is quite nice, and it's a great business to have in the city. So I hope the Board of Zoning Appeals takes that into matter. If that helps for them when they go to BOZA, they can state that we were in favor of this, I think the demonstration of the quality of the fencing and landscaping speaks volumes, because we don't always see that. So,
Madam Chair, on the lighter side, I had flashbacks of all of my photos and yearbooks. So I just thanks for that memory.
maybe we should ask if they want to take ours, like a planning commission photo album shoot, right? No. All right, let's Michael, take the roll.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing, Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
So we have 8 mandatory referrals, which are often presented by city staff. So the city staff that's here to present any of these mandatory referrals will ask that you move pretty quickly through them and share the important matters. I know we have a few important ones, so obviously we need to hear, but let's try to move quickly. This is the first mandatory referral, which is Ordinance 973-2021. This is in Councilman McCormick's ward. If he's still here and would like to speak, he's welcome to. And this is the application of the Ohio City Legacy LLC to establish the Ohio City Community Entertainment District. Is there anyone from the city to speak to this? Someone from Economic Development? Anyone here?
We should have Dan Whalen and Steve Willoughby from Harbor Bay.
I see Dan on the list, but maybe he can't unmute.
I'm unmuted. I just wanted to make sure that nobody else was chiming in first.
Okay.
Thank you. So yeah, I can speak briefly. I also have John Neal, who drafted our community entertainment district legislation for approval by council. So just briefly, just everyone on the call, I think was probably at this point aware of our project over at 25th and Lorraine, right across from the West Side Market. Construction is progressing nicely. This is for an application of a community entertainment district that will give us the opportunity to secure a couple extra liquor licenses than are currently out in the public market at the moment. I'd like to note that in addition to our $150 million real estate investment here, our company's decided to double down on Cleveland, and we are starting a hospitality company as well. And we'll be hiring 150 new employees there in the spring of 2022 locally. In addition, we are opening a corporate office, and we'll have 12 to 15 full-time salaried employees here at the project as well. So for a company that hadn't done any work in Cleveland prior, we are doubling and tripling down here and investing, and so this supports that investment. The numbers on the screen are pretty representative of what's been going on to date, the project profile, and the following images are really just updates to progress. So you can quickly click through the next few slides. This is just a summary of what we're applying for at the time being, and then any other questions related to the Community Entertainment District, I can direct to John Neal, who's on the call.
Correct. Thank you.
Is that the completion of the presentation? Yeah.
I can speak briefly as to a little bit more about what this does in terms of the liquor law.
Yeah, could you just let us know? I mean, we can read it here. It's sort of 5 liquor permits, establishes this district. And I guess maybe instead of you, it'd be maybe if there's anyone from the city who can speak to this, Freddie or someone, to give us a recommendation. We've done this before, but it's really important that the city support this.
Well, no question, they wouldn't be able to execute this without all of that support. But I would like to say, you know, given the investment over here, the fact that you're going to have a bustling 24/7 environment over here, we adamantly supported the desire to establish this district. And we know that, you know, having this, you know, opportunity to have the liquor permits is only going to enhance the experience for people, to say the least, in this area. So we fully support this, no question.
And Kerry's still on, but he might be on his other one. So I'm going to ask Kerry McCormick, Councilman, if you want to say anything about this, but he could be on his other call as well. So maybe not. All right, commission members.
I move approval. Downing.
I second. McCray Scott.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by, oh wait, no, sorry, that's wrong. Call roll. That would have been much faster.
The old days, yes.
Yeah, bad habit.
Bowen.
Yes.
Okay. Downing.
Yes.
Fluker.
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
McCray Scott.
Yes.
Light.
Yes.
Motion carries. Well, great project, and thank you to Harbor Bay for the investment and for coming to Cleveland. It's pretty cool. So thanks.
Thanks, everybody. We're pretty excited.
Yep.
Take care.
All right. The next one is ordinance number 980-2021, authorizing the mayor and commissioner of purchases and supplies to acquire the John Raper School at 1596 East 86th Street for future redevelopment. So anyone from the city to speak to this?
Yes. Good morning, Chairwoman. This is McKeel Wackers, Director of Community Development. I also have former Councilman Matt Zone here to represent Western Land Conservancy. Briefly, this is a project that the city and the CMSD are working together on reusing former school sites throughout the city. This site, located at East 86th Street, is in the Huff neighborhood. It was a school. It's been since demolished and is now vacant land. And through an RFQ process, we have selected Western Land Conservancy to take possession of this site after finalizing an agreement for the purpose of redeveloping it as a public park, an open space. So, Matt Zone, do you want to summarize your project real briefly?
Sure, Director. Thank you. Good morning, Commission members. Good to see so many familiar faces this morning. Yeah, as part of our placemaking work in the city, projects that we've led and brought successfully online, whether it's Brighton Park, the Ubuntu project, which will be coming online at the end of next year, the Garden of 11 Angels, which we just cut the ribbon on 2 weeks ago, as well as the Derek Owens Memorial Park. We see this as an opportunity to make a significant investment in a part of our city that has not seen high quality green space investment in the Huff neighborhood. The unique thing about this is it's contiguous to the Thurgood Marshall Rec Center that has wonderful recreational active amenities, wonderful basketball courts, baseball diamonds, tennis courts, horseshoe pits. But what it doesn't have is a great high quality passive natural space. So what we propose is walking trails, some exercise equipment, areas for people to sit out and barbecue. We've done 2 community charrettes already. This project working in partnership with the Famicos Foundation, as well as current Councilman Bashir Jones and soon to be Council Lady Stephanie House. We've had 2 community charrettes, one on August 27th, another one on October 29th. Our significant partners in this project is Village Family Farms and Little Africa Food Cooperative. We're working with both of them. They've been doing a lot of significant community engagement. At our first session on October 27th, we have over 40 residents showed up. And what blew me away was like the longevity of the people who live in this community. Multi-generational people who've lived there 20, 30, and 40 years are really excited to see some investment happening in their neighborhood. And so at this point, I'd ask for your support of this legislation, and then we will be back at a later point once we hear from some of the funding sources. We put out grant applications to share potential renderings of what this cool green space could look like.
All right, thank you. Good to see you. Commission members?
I move approval. Downing.
I second McCray Scott.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All right, Michael, take the roll.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
Okay, great project.
Thank
Really
you.
exciting.
Thank you.
This is ordinance 993-2021, authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a purchase or option to purchase or purchase agreement with Project Boron LLC in connection with the sale of city-owned property along Opportunity Corridor for the Orlando Baking Company project. So who's here from the city?
Good morning.
Okay. And you can move pretty quickly unless there are issues.
This covers 993 and 997 as well.
Okay,
we'll do the agenda.
We'll vote separately, but you can talk about them both.
Sure. So this is the expansion along the Opportunity Corridor of the Orlando Baking Company in partnership with Weston Development. The proposal would develop a roughly 150,000 square foot cold storage facility across from Orlando's existing site, which is on the north side of the corridor. This is on the south side of the corridor. As you may know, cold storage is a huge issue in the market. Orlando rents space in Columbus. I dealt with another business who was looking for space. The best they could find was Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So this is a huge economic asset to the city when this gets constructed. Not only will it be used by Orlando, but I've had conversations with Maselli Dairy has interest in some space. Pierre's. So this is a great economic asset. I'm not sure why I'm.
Somebody in your office needs to mute.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Look. There's nobody here. So all right. So anyway, the project is on city-owned land. that we would be selling to the property. So that's ordinance 993. And as part of the project, we'll be providing a TIF to support the redevelopment. And that's ordinance 997.
This will
So-
make it
This will
really,
make it really
David. Can you mute
Can
David
you
real
mute
quick?
David real quick?
All right, so first, are you on mute?
Are you on mute too?
So weird.
So weird.
Freddie is not mute.
It seems like almost everybody's muted, so I'm not sure where it's coming from.
It's not me. It's not me.
All right. Next.
Next. Oh no.
All right, let's vote.
All right, let's vote.
This is the first one, which is item 3, the ordinance 993-2021. Do we have a motion?
So
Move
moved.
approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a
We have
second.
a motion and a second.
It's Michael.
It's Mike.
So Michael, can you call the roll?
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Hooker,
Abstain.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
yes,
Slight,
Yes.
Motion carries. Let's do the second one, which is the TIF. So it's 997-2021, which is authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a tax increment financing agreement with Project Boron, which is for the Orlando Baking Company. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Michael, can you call the roll?
Bowen,
Yes, and I'd just also like to say how important this is. I think they've talked about a dearth of cold storage in Cleveland. I mean, realistically, if you want to do cold storage, you have to either go to Columbus or to Michigan. So this is a big boon for the Cleveland area.
Yeah, agree.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Abstain.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
yes,
Slight,
Yes.
Motion carries. The next one is
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just real quick discussion. I did abstain, so I'm not impacting the vote.
Yes.
I had the opportunity to drive Opportunity Corridor a couple times. What's disturbing is Orlando's parking lot has barbed wire and razor wire that faces the street. I think there needs to be some consideration concerning what that exudes, what that says about the company and what that says about the Opportunity Corridor. So I hope that they will remediate that problem. Thank you.
I guess that question, I mean, we've already voted, so it's okay, and this item is complete, but to the director, if he's still on from Economic Development, is it possible for you to have a conversation with Orlando about that?
Absolutely.
Okay, appreciate it, especially since, you know, we want them to be here and be successful, but we also do, I think, if there's a way to support and help push them to do maybe even if it's tall, like a 6-foot ornamental or something that still keep, you know, is safe and secure, but is still beautiful, might be very nice. So thank you, and maybe at some date you can report back to us about that, Director. The next one is number 5, which is ordinance number 1028-2021, authorizing the Director of Port Control to enter into one or more submerged land leases with the state of Ohio. And this is at Burke Lakefront Airport. Who's here to speak to this?
Morning, John Hoos, Port Control.
Okay. Thank you.
So over the years, the city has assembled Burke Lake Airport by placing fill on the submerged lands of Lake Erie. We have entered into submerged land leases to do that in the yellow areas, but we do not currently have a submerged land lease for the blue area. So what this legislation will authorize us to do is modify existing and enter into new submerged land leases as necessary to ensure the city has clear title to the Burke Lakefront Airport. campus as necessary to meet grant requirements, private financial standards, and that type of thing.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the commission?
Move approval, Downing.
Second, Fluker.
We have a motion and a second. Michael, you might call the roll?
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
yes,
Fife.
Yes.
Motion carries. The next ordinance 6 is 1036-2021, which is authorizing the mayor and commissioner of purchases and supplies to acquire and reconvey properties by Vispiri Flats LLC at 601 Stones Levee Road. And this is for chain of title for a TIF.
Good morning. Yes. Good morning, Chairwoman. This is Robin Brown from the Department of Economic Development. The Spirit Flats, doing business as Cleveland Whiskey, is proposing to move their new headquarters to the Consolidated Fruit Auction Company building located at 601 Stones Levee Road in the Flats. Their new building would include office space, a distillery, distribution space, and a tasting room, as well as a restaurant. So the project will create 26 new jobs and retain 16 new jobs. This piece of legislation will authorize the director of ED to enter into the chain of title for certain properties associated with the project for the purposes of entering into a TIF agreement. In attendance today, if you have any questions related to the project, we have Tom Licks, the founder of Cleveland Whiskey, as well as Reese Atworks with Cleveland Whiskey, and Tracy Nichols and Nora Wash with Project Management Consultants.
Great, thank you. It's great to have them all here, including Tracy back. I think that August Fluker should probably have to recuse himself since he's a whiskey drinker. Are you allowed to vote on this? I'm just kidding. So there you go. All right, any questions for economic development or for any of the applicants who are here? It's a phenomenal project. So if anyone from Cleveland Whiskey wants to say anything, we're happy to hear about this. So would love to give you a second if you would like to say something.
Yeah, this is Tom Licks. Just let me say that, this is a historic rehabilitation of a building that was once at the heart of the community. It was built in the early 1900s, really an innovative building, and we're putting it back to use. I also think of this as something similar to, and it's a great aspiration that was done in Ohio City with some early investments. And, there's a major beer company there that everybody knows that really helped turn around that area. And I hope that we're sort of the impetus or the seed in this area that has seen a lot of disinvestment and really nothing going on. And I see some of that occurring already in terms of the people looking at other properties in the area and coming up to us and saying, we're glad you're here. Really excited about this. I want to thank the city, for all the help that we've gotten to date. And also, quite frankly, the people of Cleveland has been so great and so welcoming of our distillery. I'm just so happy to be here. I'm a Boston transplant. Cleveland is now my home. Once I named the company Cleveland Whiskey, I was here to stay, and I am just so excited to be here. So thank you.
Thank you. It's such an awesome story, and thank you for the investment. It's such a cool building. You're right. So it's going to be an anchor down here, I think, for the future. So appreciate it. Commission members, any other questions?
I move approval, Downing.
I second McCray Scott.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll all be at the opening tasting with you. So call the roll, please.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes,
Fife.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Hi, Tracy. See you. All right, ordinance number, it's unnumbered actually, 2021, authorizing the director of the Mayor's Office of Capital Projects to accept the transfer of 0.081 acre parcel, currently part of the state of Ohio's right-of-way adjacent to I-90 and West 14th Street near Fairfield. This is for the purpose of constructing Tremont Oaks apartment project. Who's here from the city to speak to this?
Good morning, Lillian. This is Jamie DeRosa, Commissioner of Real Estate for the city. If you could go to the next slide, please. So this is a way that we're able to purchase land from ODOT and transfer it to the developer for a phase 2 of an apartment project on West 14th Street, just south of Fairfield. You can see the white box under the triangle. That is the Tremont Oaks apartment project, which is a micro apartment building, 8 units, just on 14th Street. And just north of it is a city-owned parcel, everyday transfer that would be expected at appraised value. But just north of that is a triangular piece of land that ODOT has agreed to remove from its limited right-of-way. Which means that the developer will be able to purchase it from the city and then have a development project to extend the Tremont Oaks project. So if you go to the next slide, basically what's going to happen is Tremont is going to, or ODOT is going to transfer their parcel to the city. The city will sell both parcels to the developer at appraised value, and then we'll remit the appraised value for ODOT's parcel back to ODOT. And if you go to the next slide, so this has already been through landmarks. It's already been through all of the zoning approvals that are needed. But you can see how this triangular shaped piece of land would be would incorporate the phase 2 of the apartment project. So it's an unusual way to reutilize some unused limited access right of way, and we're seeking approval today.
Commission members?
Move approval, Downing.
Second, Slife.
Motion and a second. Michael, call the roll.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion carries. Last one is an unnumbered ordinance, also to authorize the Director of Economic Development to enter into chain of title for a TIF, a non-school TIF, with Reserve Premier LLC, and it's 30-year TIF.
Great, thanks. So this again is another project that's taking place really because of the development of the Opportunity Corridor. This is nestled into that little spot off of East 55th Street, currently a scrapyard and some other more non-favored uses, we'll say. In the proposal, the development team led by Premier Development would develop about 180,000 square feet of industrial spec, and maybe not as much in demand as cold storage, but modern industrial space is another huge need in this market. And if you oblige my personal opinion, this is something that needs to get built constantly because we don't have enough older modern industrial space. So we really need to be pushing this not just for today, but for 20 years from now to help keep our industry and commercial space competitive. So happy to see this happening. It's going to turn around a piece of property that's really an ugly use into something that I think is really needed for the economy and for the city, really position the city well for the future.
Okay. Commission members?
I move approval, Downing.
I will second.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Can we call the roll?
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. We actually have 10 administrative approvals. I'm going to ask Maurice if you can just kind of go through them, pause on each of them just for a second. Everyone can take a look at them on the agenda as well, and then we'll vote at the end. I'd like to stop at number 5, which is pretty important. We should note that we are renaming the end of Al Lerner Way, which is at East 9th Street, to Mayor Michael R. White Boulevard. Does he get a mayor in there? It's just Michael R. White.
It's Michael R. White.
All right, okay. So very important for those of us who worked in City Hall.
I'll move approval.
Okay, we have a
Second,
motion
Fluker.
and a second for the administrative approvals. All right, any abstentions? Okay, Michael, call the roll.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. All right, we have 2 large design review cases left. The first being the police station, which is the East District 2021-025, which is schematic approval of the new police headquarters on Opportunity Corridor at 2750 East 75th Street. I need the whole team and anybody who's presenting to be sworn in. So if you could just kind of make yourself known if you're speaking.
This is Jonathan Crump.
Okay. Are you the only one speaking to the project?
No, Michael and Jonathan Tallman and Colin Meaves.
Okay.
We
can all say aye after I get done. So do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do.
Aye.
All right, take it away.
Madam Chair, I must recuse myself.
Oh, yes. So we have 1 recusal. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commission members. My name is Mike Augustinus. I'm with JMT Architecture here in Cleveland, and I'll be making some introductory comments and then turn it over to Jonathan Crump and Colin Meaves from MKSK Landscape Architects. We're excited to present this project. We did present it to the East Region ARB last week and did receive a conditional schematic approval with conditions that we have been working on since then. The opening image is really just an aerial view of the project that gives you a pretty good understanding of how we want to configure the site as it relates to the building and to the plaza along 75th and how it relates to Opportunity Corridor. Next slide, please. Very quickly, just wanted to go through the project team. Dewberry, Ohio Designers PC is the lead architect. We are the local architect supporting the project. MKSK from Columbus is the landscape architect, and the owner's rep / CM is going to be the PCS companies here in Cleveland. Next slide, please. I wanted to do a quick project summary. There's some technical information here as it relates to the size of the project. It's a 2-story and 4-story configuration. We'll get into the details here shortly. It's about 187,000 square feet, scheduled for completion and occupancy in June of 2026. From a conceptual perspective and design development perspective, we worked with the Division of Police and with the city administration to really develop what we felt were critical design drivers for the project. And it went well beyond architecture. This took into consideration how the project can create a bridge to the local communities and really begin to reconcile the chasm that exists between local police departments and the communities. We felt that being able to introduce ways of integrating with the community with a variety of different programs would be a good way to present the project. And we use those to develop really what are 5 key themes for the project. One being transparency, The second one being civic engagement. Thirdly, the professionalism aspect of the project in this, police departments, and resiliency and wellness. Next slide, please. Colin, I'll let you jump onto these slides, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Mavis with MKSK. We're the landscape architects for the project. So the slide is showing the location of the site. It's seated right at the heart of the surrounding neighborhoods, Central, Fairfax, Buckeye, Woodhill, Kinsman, and the Broadway Slavic Village. It's also sandwiched between the RTA Red Line and Opportunity Corridor. So you can see it right there at the center, 10-minute walk and 10-minute bike circumferences are shown as well. So it's seated well within the heart of these communities. Next slide. And then we're zooming in just a little bit closer just to show kind of the populations that will be serving communities anywhere from 6,000 to around 20,000 within this new redevelopment corridor where the city is looking to focus economic development opportunities and new employment opportunities. Next slide. And here we're looking at a kind of bird's eye level aerial of the site, showing how the building massing fits within the corridor itself, how it's connected to some of the expanding opportunity sites directly adjacent to Orlando Baking, and creating kind of an open space connection to that site as well. It's on access with a planned green space, and then also our front yard space, you'll see in some of the coming slides, connects with that and creates a large central civic space. We're also within close proximity to a number of neighborhood residential developments, businesses, future businesses, and the RTA and number 2 bus stops along this area. Next slide. Here you're seeing a previous opportunity corridor is obviously open now, so this is a little outdated aerial, but it shows how the site is positioned along the corridor and south of the RTA rail line. We'll be relocating Grand Avenue to the north of the site and using what is shown here for the site expanse. Next slide, please. Just a few context images showing the corridor itself, looking east along Opportunity Corridor from our site, and then also a view from the corner of 75th and Opportunity Corridor, looking at what will be the future site and the future front door of the building. There's also a new bridge planned over the RTA corridor on East 75th. Next slide. Here we're looking at the overall site plan for the project. As you can see, the setbacks allow for a very generous front yard and front porch experience for the building. The building is positioned to provide a welcoming and generous amenity space for the community. We really see this as an opportunity to make a large gesture to bringing people into the space, letting it be seen as more than just a headquarters for police. It's also going to be used for community events. There's community spaces planned right in the front space with a lot of transparency for back and forth between the community plaza and the building itself. We also have a large event lawn placed right out front, along with a lot of open green space that is meant to be used by the public as well as by the headquarters. And as we look south towards Long Opportunity Corridor, you see a more narrow corridor, a more urban placement and arrangement of the building fabric. And it's meant to create an opportunity for more of an urban experience, as well as some larger gestures that can be experienced from the road itself. No, sorry, next slide. This is just a quick overall view of some of the amenities that are planned for the site, where we'll be focusing benches and public seating, as well as rain gardens, which we see as both an educational and sustainability component. How we'll be arranging some of the security elements like the fencing, and also some of the amenities for the police themselves for the cafe and athletic courts. Next slide. Very quickly going through some of the details of the site itself. We're looking to have very durable, very modern furnishings that also herald back the softer materials of the building. So we have some wood benches out there. All of our security, fencing and methods are meant to be more of a subdued approach. So we're looking for very transparent fencing. The bollards themselves are going to be interspersed with a lighting effect, and then also kind of more lower profile bollards and wheel stops. Next slide. Taking a look at some of the amenities around the site, just looking at some of the characters that we've been investigating for things like the rain garden, outdoor cafe spaces, and plaza. Some of the, there will be a walking path across the site for police headquarters itself. And so taking a look at how that can be programmed and what the character of that can be like for personal wellness, and then the athletic courts. Next slide. We're also working closely with the Art Commission to identify opportunities for integration of art into the site elements themselves. So we've identified 4 primary areas all along the site, looking to disperse these installations, starting with a long opportunity corridor. As I mentioned, we're looking to create an experience that can be seen and appreciated not only from walking along the sidewalks and along the bike multi-use path across the street, but also by the cars. So installations along the fencing and throughout the planting area and open lawn space right along the building. So that's what you're seeing in labels A and B on this diagram. Then as you come around the corner at 75th, we're also looking for opportunities to create sculptural elements within the community plaza and event lawns themselves. And then also an opportunity for a memorial garden on the backside of the building for the police headquarters and the police. Thank you. Next slide. We're very early in the development of the planting strategy and getting into actual species. This shows you an overall view of the tree layout. We're very cognizant of making sure we have tree canopy across the site and providing areas and moments that have a human scale across the large front yard space, as well as in some of the garden spaces for the police. And we've also dedicated the back portion of the site for that walking trail that I showed previously. Next slide, please. And then I think this will be, John is going to talk a little bit about the connection between the exterior spaces and the building itself.
Thanks, Colin. This is a good transition slide from the site into the building, and as you can see here, relating back to some of the themes. So you'll look at initially the transparency theme. That would be the public interaction space within the building. So you'll see in the floor plan that we have the interactive spaces in between the plaza that Cullen has been talking about and the police headquarters in yellow. And that would be the lobby spaces and the community room. And the architecture intentionally draws those 2 elements together, with the blue being the professionalism, the 4-story headquarters wing, and the lighter blue being the fitness and training and service on the north side. Resiliency is also important with both the rain gardens for stormwater that Colin had talked about, and mindful spaces for both the public and for the occupants of the building. Next slide. When we talk about design, just a few images. The Cleveland Division of Police was very straightforward. They wanted this building to be welcoming and say, come on in. So we had several charrettes and looked at an element of what is most welcoming in a institutional building. What would be a concept of a porch. So that's what we've used to draw people into the building and together within the building. Next slide. The other concept that was important to this design is a concept of branding rather than signage. In a typical corporate building, you'd see a name on the building and saying, this is who we are. We have intentionally looked at using branding through a deep blue that brings in the color of the police uniforms. And rather than putting naming on the building saying in a corporate way saying this is my territory, we've elected to use script across the front of the porch. In this case, the script we're showing in the rendering is the mission of the Cleveland Division of Police. This script may evolve as the project progresses, but the intention is branding over signage. Next slide. To get into the design story, or what we as architects call the design party, you'll see the two elements that we've already talked about. The secure police workspace is branded in the blue of their uniform, and the community porch is the transparent elements that integrate the activities of the police and the activities of the public. Other elements within the designs on the left would be the symbolic shield. This is the roof and walls of the porch that wrap through the building and create a experience along Opportunity Corridor. That experience is on the lower left of the bottom. We'll show you some images later, but that is the transformation. It is the texture that we wanted to be active, dynamic, and kinetic on in response to the transportation corridor. And then the bridge iconography. In this neighborhood, in the Kinsman neighborhood, the history of the Sideway Bridge, and also looking at an overview of Cleveland as a city and what is of Cleveland. When you stand at the script location at the south side of Cleveland, looking north over the river, Cleveland has a very iconic imagery of building massing, resting solidly on bridge abutments, bridge bracing, and bridge infrastructure that is unique and of Cleveland, and we wanted to bring that into the building. Next slide. Again, this is a closer view of walking up into the welcome feeling of the porch. Next slide. Standing in the visitor parking, there are 30 parking stalls to the north where you enter into the building with the community room on the left and the vestibule on the right. Next slide. This is a view from the northwest from the police side, looking back at the police side of the building. Next slide. This is the Opportunity Corridor elevation, looking at the transformation of the theme with something active, dynamic, and kinetic that really responded to the traffic flow on the corridor. Very similar to the response that you talked about earlier at the Orlando Baking. We wanted to have something that was very, very interactive and kinetic rather than defensive. And taking that action into nighttime to make sure we are responding with lighting as part of the design for the Opportunity Corridor facade. Speaking of lighting, this will be updated and resubmitted, but for the Architectural Review Board, we had a requirement of lighting for the initial design. This is being updated and will be resubmitted for the final Architectural Review Board. Next slide. Now we can scroll through these slides fairly quickly. These are the elevations and building sections. The materiality is fairly simple on the building. The blue metal panel picking up on the police uniforms, the base, a solid base of brick that will pick up on the colors and tones of the local Beret limestone. We're working with Belden brick on that color and texture. And then wood tones bringing warmth to the inside of the shield and porch element. And then the chromatic metal panels for the Opportunity Corridor facade. Again, this reviews the signage and talks about we will have actual wayfinding signage at the site indicating the name and specific function of the building. But the overarching theme of the signage would be branding over actual physical text labeling the building. Next slide. The interior view of the public space, the lobby in front of with the info desk looking left toward the community room. Next slide. Inside the community room, looking back northeast, Orlando Baking would be in the behind the trees in the distance. You can scroll through the floor plans, lower level parking, site plan, which Colin already went over. Upper level, the upper 3 levels are all the headquarters functions. Then we get into the event center. What's really important and critical about this building is the activities that happen on the building, bringing program activities to the space, as Colin talked about. So there are 3 quick renderings of a badge ceremony, which happens annually, and then the opportunity for a festival, where the event lawn could have a festival, or a farmer's market are just examples that we've shown as program activities that may occur in the event space.
Thank you. That's a wonderful presentation. Commission members, any comments or questions or concerns? This is for schematic design approval. And can I ask staff, were there any comments from local or things that we should be aware of that were discussed at the local design review?
Yeah, there was comments from the local design review. Kim Scott, who's the neighborhood planner, can comment on the motion.
Good morning. And actually, I'm going to defer to Nicole Calhoun. She administers the design review committee, and she took the minutes and has reported them. So,
Nicole, do you want to go ahead and articulate the minutes, and then I'll have
Sure.
a comment to make, Madam
Sure.
Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do believe you have in front of you the motion form from the East Design Review. They had a little concern about the parking area and actually reducing the hardscape surface, looking for something a little more sustainable. Also, working with the right-of-way on the Opportunity Corridor to provide, to incorporate a more streetscape. All in all, they were very enthusiastic about this project and in great support.
Okay, thank you. Before I open to commission members, to the applicants, are you open to exploring some additional, I guess probably more permeable treatments and then also more landscaping along the corridor?
This is Jonathan Tallman, project manager with Dewberry Architects, or sorry, Dewberry, Ohio, TC. So to answer the question is yes, we are open to doing that. However, budget is very limited on this project, and the city division of police feel that the dollars are better spent in square footage. At this point in time, if there is a budget increase at some point during the project, then we'd be more than happy to get the permeable pavers or some other more sustainable solution for the parking lot. But
Have
we
you
are
talked to
restricted
the
a lot of dollars.
Have you talked to the sewer district about potential sewer district grant for the parking lot?
Those conversations have been, my understanding, those conversations have been started, but there's no resolution yet to those items.
Lillian, agree with leaving that stipulation in our motion, and you know, especially since this is the source of funds is public dollars. Before we were to remove any of that requirement, I believe we'd have to be further along. One, in the sewer district conversations, but two, also have a quantified amount for what that improvement would be. And I think that would be incumbent for them, the city, to determine if and how to incorporate that budget increase. But unlike other projects where we are making outside stipulations, this one's really on ourselves. So I think we should hold ourselves to the standard.
Okay, so you want to make that motion then?
I will. I move approval, I guess, just subject to incorporating the conditions and suggestions of the design review committee.
I'll second it. Downing.
Motion a second. Freddie, you had a comment as well.
Yeah, just want to say the opportunity to explore that does obviously still exist because this is a schematic review. I do want to mention that they have been working with multiple city departments, in particular city planning. And one of the things that was emphasized was the need to have sort of that public experience, you know, on the street side. If you notice, the building is configured with its main entrance off 75th, which is north-south, and it faces the side of the Orlando Baking Company. We are looking to work with Orlando to try to address the parking that they have in front of their facility, because right now you have parking on the corridor with respect to Orlando. So that facing of 75th and having sort of that plaza area at the corner really does call a lot of attention to the interface between Orlando, the police headquarters, and what could potentially happen on the Opal site, which is a whole nother conversation, which I think this commission is going to have to be very adamant and engaged in to ensure that that parcel gets developed appropriately. But all in all, I just want to say that the staff, you know, of the planning department, working with the Division of Police and the representatives, do believe that this design is one of the more unique designs of a institutional building, such as a police headquarters in the city of Cleveland. And we're pretty satisfied with the outcome of how this is configured. The little nuances that were identified in the design review committee, I think could still be addressed in this, but just overall, you know, we think that this is, you know, a pretty unique building structure.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions from committee members before we vote? Okay, Michael, can you take the roll?
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. And note that August recused himself.
Madam Chair, can I make a comment? It's
You
my
can.
social commentary time.
Yeah.
Won't take a lot of time. There's two things. There's two things. You know, the presenters talked about, or they skirted over and made it not seem important about the relationship of Black and brown communities with law enforcement. I would hope that next time they have that conversation, they'll be prepared to articulate what they mean, because that was a pretty thin approach to talk about that. The second thing is, we can't do this because of budget. We're setting an example along Opportunity Corridor, and this project should be an example. It should set the standard, just as if the city expects us to do the same thing when we're designing structures and receive city money. There's a huge environmental impact that this building has, and it should be more respectful of its environment, given the outcomes that happen in the Black and brown communities. Thank you.
I think that's a very important point, and one that, so for you and for the councilman who made the motion, which is that the expectations are that they're going to come back with kind of a less environmental impacts of the parking lot and more green to the street, etc. Because to your point, it is an example. And if this project can't do it on the corridor, then it's really not going to say much for what else is to come. So I think they've heard us loud and clear. Thank you. And we'll see you soon with the next phase of design. The final agenda item is in the far west side, 2021-031. This is Lake Avenue Townhouses new construction. This is schematic design approval. 9803 and 9805 Lake Avenue. Wesley, are you the only one here to speak on this, or is there someone else?
I believe I'm the only one here right now, unless James Asimis is on as well.
I am.
Then I'll just swear. Okay, I'll swear you both in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, take it away.
All right, good morning. Wesley Harper with Horton Harper Architects. We've been working with Real Life Development on the kind of a two-pronged project here on Lake Avenue, just south of Edgewater Park, between West Boulevard and Clifton. Yep, there we go. The site is currently vacant for the townhome project that we're talking about today. The site immediately to the east, or your right in this image, is the rehab of an existing large home that was probably built in the 1920s, I believe. The site plans that we go over today will show both. Here you see an area of the site for the townhomes today. For schematic review, the rehab has been through Board of Zoning Appeals. I believe you've seen it a couple times for lot split and a portion of the design review of the past scheme. So the rehab is going to be submitted for permit next week, and the new roof, I think, will probably start not long after that. It's kind of a mix here on Lake Avenue. You have a large-scale apartment building directly to the west that you see here. To the east, you have a mix of large single-family homes, and then there is a large townhome development that occurred a handful of years ago on the church site that you see to the left. Next. So the site plan we have shown here, we've been through Far West design review for schematic approval. And here you see the home at the bottom of the screen here, townhome A and townhome B. The existing home will be broken up into two fee simple units. We have a sale for one of them nearly in place right now. And so what we're talking about today here are the 6 townhomes on the site to the west. We're of course respecting the 40-foot required setback relative to the front property line. And then we have 2 buildings of 3 units. In the middle of the new townhomes and the existing house, we have, we think will be a pretty unique pedestrian space that leads to the entries of the townhomes themselves and also the entry to the existing home. Next. Here we have a landscape and lighting plan. There was some comments from Far West, which we'll be reacting to for final review, but if we want to get into detail with this, we can. Next. So here we have a view of the north facade of the proposed townhomes. It's a mix of materials that we think respect the buildings on either side of us, but certainly in a more contemporary way here. So it's a 4-story structure. We're in a number 3 zoning height restriction area, which is 115 feet. We're obviously staying well below that, but we are kind of in between the existing home and the existing apartment to our west. So we think we're comfortably, sitting in between there. The materials we're using here, we have a fair amount of brick, and then also some cement board for the darker areas that you see here. We wanted to be very, very intentional with the idea that we're looking to look north here towards the lake, towards Edgewater Park, and we think the facade responds to that. We have a couple areas of outdoor space on the second and third floors to get those views, and then a sizable porch here on this front unit. Next. Here's a view looking to the southwest. You can start to see the facades of the rear units and a bit of the pedestrian walk between the two buildings. Next. Here's a view looking directly south on that pedestrian walk. So, these are somewhat close to one another, but we are completely within the townhouse code as it exists, and the buyer for one of the units in the existing home would be the unit that fronts the townhomes. So we're comfortable with that in terms of the buyer's perspective. The lower levels of the townhomes in the rear, the entry areas are defined by the masonry here as well. And then the remainder of the units are horizontally oriented lap siding. Next. Here's a view of the outdoor space in the rear of the existing home, and also the entries to a couple of the townhomes. We are building a new 4-car garage for the rehab, but then we want to get a fair amount of landscaping on the northern face of the existing garage to kind of keep a nice green space back there. Next. Here is the green space for the rehab and how the new townhomes interact with that. Next. Here's an aerial looking towards the northwest. A little bit shorter than the building, but a little more than the house. But this kind of shows those three. Next. Image of the new garage. Next. And then a view north on the pedestrian walk. Next. Material. And then we have exterior elevations and floor plans. I don't think we need to get into that, but this is for review. We'll be going back to Near West in the coming weeks and then back to you after that. Open to any questions. Thanks.
Well, as always, yes, as always, Wes, you always provide a very responsive and delightful approach to townhouse the application of townhouse code. It's really contextual. You didn't go and make it look like Tudor style architecture, but I think you've done a really good job to pull together, that transition, right, between the apartment building and the single family residence. So kudos to you. You make me want to practice architecture again.
Come on back. Thank you.
I move approval. Downing.
Second.
Motion and a second. We have 2 seconds, so I think it'll pass. So I don't know who gets it, but we'll give it to August. Motion and a second. Michael, can you take the roll?
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Booker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Sly.
Yes.
So did I lie? Is there one more? I don't have another one on my agenda. Are we done?
We have quite a few, Madam Chair, actually.
We do?
Yes, we do. I don't know what happened to your agenda.
Okay. How many do we have left?
I'm showing 3 more, Madam Chair. It's not quite a few. It's 3 more.
Okay.
No, I have 4.
Okay. 4. Are they all near West?
I have 2 more for Near West, and I have 1 for Euclid Corridor. I'm sorry, yeah, Euclid Corridor, and
We
1
did
for North and Northeast.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's move pretty quickly. We're going to get done before noon. So can I see the next one? Because I don't have it. Can you put up the ordinance?
Hey, Lillian.
Yeah.
This is David. Since it seems like you're going to maintain the quorum, I'm going to drop off here because I'm at the show.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, so Northwest 2021030. This is 222 Fulton Road. We gave schematic design approval. This is for final design approval. So Wesley, since I already swore you in, I think you're okay. But since we saw this, if you could just focus on what's different or what has changed since schematic,
Sure.
that'd be great.
Sure, if we could skip down to the site plan. Really, the only thing that's changed is we've added a large tree at the southeast corner. We've added a portion, we've added to the footprint of the structure at the northwest corner for a sprinkler room and bike storage. And then if we could go to maybe rendering, Maurice, that would explain, yeah, 3D rendering, there we go. We also added basically canopies to cover the entry to the units. So really that's it. It's a 12-unit apartment building. We've been through near west final. And we're here today for planning's final.
Okay. Commission members?
I move approval. Downing.
I'll
We have a
second.
A motion and a second. Yep, we remember this one. Any other comments or questions before we vote? All right, Michael, take the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Thank you. Brighton Box Wrap seeking final approval. This is at 4274 Pearl Road. This is Old Brooklyn. Is Lucas the only one here to speak to this?
No, I believe the artist is here as well.
I'm here. My name's
Okay.
Kyla. This
Okay.
this
I'm gonna have to
project is
swear you
actually
guys
4
in.
locations. Yeah.
Okay. And since this is a box wrap, Tara, and we see a lot of these, you really don't need to go into that much detail. You can just show us the artwork quickly. We know that these are existing boxes that you're just wrapping, so you do not need to go into a tremendous amount of detail. So let me swear you, the artist, in. Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, as you shall answer into the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. All right, so move pretty quickly through.
Lucas.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'll be very brief. I know we're trying to catch up on the agenda. This particular slide shows the context of the Brighton corridor along Pearl Road, identifying the 4 traffic control boxes that we wish to wrap with the public art. The only other thing I will mention before passing it off to the artist Kyla, who is also an Old Brooklyn resident and was a real pleasure to work with in collaboration on this project, is that these boxes were designed with the intent to really be symbolic of the lived experience in Old Brooklyn. You will see that the icons and messaging all reflect, some of the local experiences that folks will recognize, and we hope to get these installed and make it an experience as folks move through the district. I will pass it off to Kyla to identify some of the unique characteristics of the design.
Thanks, Lucas. Yeah, as you said, I won't spend too much time on these, as you know, the box wraps and how you're familiar with them. But what we did was we did the 4 different ones, and we tried to do a similar style and color scheme throughout, highlighting some different locations around the Old Brooklyn and Brighton areas, and some like the businesses and iconic landmarks. So we feature the zoo with the animals. We talk a lot about the greenhouses, showing plants and different vegetation that we have. Highlighting the founding, the largest baseball game that had happened here, just highlighting like the family and community and using that as a throughway for all 4 wraps.
I move approval. Downing.
I'll second.
And these were approved by the Near West Design Review back on November 10th. And they
Nice.
did make the adjustments that were asked of them.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I will say I like the kind of the sort of thread of the same color. Sometimes the boxes end up being all different colors, so they don't relate to each other. So I actually really like that about this. Michael, can you take the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight,
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. This is Northeast Design Review 2021-033 Shiloh Temple House of God expansion, new construction. This is at 1178 East 79th Street. Is Pastor Wanda Best here, and Corey Robin and Andre Ballard?
Corey Robinson.
There you go. It's Pastor Stephen.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Got it all right. Oh, there. Hi, how are you? All
Hi.
right.
It's for.
I'm going to swear in everyone but the pastor because I don't feel like I need to swear him in. But anyway, well, we'll swear you all in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do. Yes.
Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Andre Ballard. I'm the project manager for HCO Architects. And could you go to our slide 23, might be slide 382 in your slideshow? I'll go up one more.
$381.
Excuse me.
381, please. There, very good. Thank you. We're coming before the Planning Commission for final approval for the Shiloh Temple House of God expansion. On Tuesday, we received Northeast Design Review approval, with the exception of, and everything was approved, and including a comment, and I quote, a nitpick comment from one of the commission's design review people. We are looking at an expansion of around 23,000 square feet for the existing building. You've seen this before, and so we're just commenting on some of the things that were acts of the design review. We're showing the lighting, the signage on this sheet. And if you go to slide 20, our slide 20, go up, please.
I don't see the numbers for your slide, so I don't know what slide, what does slide 20 have on it?
Sure, material.
Okay, let's see. That one?
Yes. And, so they wanted us to present our material palette, which we did, and that was all approved. Wanted us to talk about the window design and our logic behind it, and which was also approved. So our landscape plan, if you go, there's another.
Is that it?
Yes. We're planning around the building, and also this is our different planning scheme, and we'll have parking across the street as well as existing parking to the south. We won't be doing anything to the existing parking, but we'll put new planning on the edge of the new parking. And again, that was approved. That'll be it. We just kind of wanted to go over what was asked of us in the initial design review, and we got approval.
Okay. Commission members, any questions or concerns or anything you want to raise? Okay.
Move approval, Downing.
We have a motion.
Second, Fluker.
Motion and a second. Michael, can you call the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, now the last one, Michael, if I'm correct, is Euclid Corridor 2021-029. This is Park Lamont Townhouses and Apartments. This is for schematic design approval at East 97th Street and Lamont Avenue. We have Brandon from Geis, Richard, and Zach from ARPI. Can I swear you guys in?
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do. Richard and Zach are on the same.
I do.
Same line. All right,
Yeah.
got you. All right, go ahead.
Good morning. First, thank you for taking the time to listen to our project presentation. We have presented twice to design review, and we were able to, based on the submission, get final approval from design review at meeting yesterday. Unfortunately, it's the first time coming to you because the agendas were so full. We were asked to hold the project back, but in the process, we continued development and then resubmitted and presented and gained that approval. So as we present with the level of detail and information, I know it's only the first time that you're seeing this, but we would ask that you consider potentially a final approval on this project. The parcels are land bank parcels, majority of, so getting final approval from planning helps aid the sale and acquisition of those parcels. So I'll jump quickly through the project. I want to highlight some things, obviously, because it's the first time that Planning Commission is really seeing this project. The project is multiple sites located on East 97th and Woodward, directly across from two large city park investments on Lamont Avenue of Orr Park West. Contextually, the site has, I'll say, very limited sidewalks. A lot of them are overgrown or missing concrete, minimal street trees, and really not that walkable street feel that we would want to see as we design these residential neighborhoods. So next slide. Obviously, there's a lot of exciting projects and growth going on in the area. Access, which was built last year, a year and a half ago, to the north, and then Orr Park West and Orr Park East, 2A, 2B, and then Addis View Workforce Housing at 3B, and then this group, RP, our client, broke ground a couple of months ago on East 93rd, which is in close proximity to. Next slide. The project entails various structures and mixed density living. Building D is an apartment structure. It's 38 units, a 4-story apartment building. And then buildings A and B and C are for rent townhomes. We have 38 apartment units and 39 townhomes. The townhomes will allow for a different, I'll say, style of living and ability to allow for people to have what they feel to be their own space in a rentable format, not necessarily just for sale. Next slide. We had a strong emphasis of this obviously being the gateway to Orr Park West, and with East 97th dead ending into Lamont and into that, creating a really nice walkable street and streetscape and landscape with all the ground floor units of the apartment building are walk up, and we'll emphasize in the renderings that condition that they have a stoop and an entry. Then also obviously highlighting all the new sidewalks and connectivity, and then the street line trees and landscaping that will occur to create a nice gateway and entrance into. And then the continuation on Woodward Avenue as well for the multiple apartment buildings there. Next slide. There's basically 3 types of units. When the townhome units, they range in size between 1,200 square feet to 1,700 square feet. A handful of the units will have a pop-up 4th floor that allow for a loft bonus room and a walkout rooftop patio in those. And obviously there's various configurations that occur. Next slide. The apartment building and layout, again, orients itself in the east and west fashion. There's a ground floor community room and fitness center and leasing office, and surface parking. Next slide. Just some conceptual elevations of the apartment buildings and the materialities. We can get to the renderings though if you want to go past these. The apartment building render or elevations, and then here's a view of the apartment building on Lamont and East 97th, looking towards the apartment building. So you're standing at Orr Park West, looking back at the building, highlighting the changes that we made. There was some discussions and there's renderings later on showing the original submission we made, but everyone really appreciated the context and texture of the apartment building, or I'm sorry, of the townhouse building, and like to see some of the more of that board and batten look on the apartment building, and also to break up some of the mass of the facade. In the 2 bedrooms that flank the corners, we recessed the living room to allow for the balcony to kind of be a little bit more integrated into the facade, breaking up that larger mass and creating kind of 2 crowns to twin that aspect. So the design review was very happy with those changes and those adjustments. I don't know if you want to keep going through the renderings. Here's the look at the 2 townhouse building along East 97, so across from the apartment building. Next slide. Here's the townhouse buildings down Woodward. And then the townhouse buildings looking back towards East 97th on Woodward. And then I guess the last slide is just the materiality, or there's a couple more slides actually. Materiality, it's integral colored CMU, white and black, charcoal, with various colors of James Hardy. So there's lap siding and then a board and batten lap siding as well, with some coping metal. And then we have vinyl sliding windows and sliding patio doors that are all black, with all the features or accessories to the building. Apertures are all black as well. And then black storefront at the commercial entries of the apartment building. Next slide. Here's just our site lighting plan with some street poles for the parking lot of the apartment building. But then a big key and emphasis, as we mentioned, was to create a nice ambient walk heading to Orr Park West. So you can see in the aqua colors are all site bollards that will be added to the sidewalk connectivity and allow for a nice ambient lit front door. And then some architectural sconces at the entrance to the rear and to the entrance off the street to allow for noting that entry point. And then just some security wall packs. Next slide. I think that's just, that's the Woodward. So again, same general principle, some street lights to highlight the driveways, and then the entries and sidewalk. Happy to entertain any questions. And then lastly is just the sample plantings and landscape plan for the project.
Okay.
And then this is a slide of just the previous submission. So basically, really nothing changed in the apartment or in the townhouse project, other than there was a comment about just ensuring that we had all the windows aligning heads, and we made that tweak. And then in the upper left corner, you can see the mass of the two bedroom flanking units and the contextual changes that were made on that.
Okay. Commission members, but also maybe staff, anything from local design review or from the community, or anyone want to speak to that?
Madam Chair, this is Chris Shefton from Famicos Foundation.
Welcome, Chris.
Just really briefly want to say that Zach and Dr. Arnstein have been incredible partners in this project with us. Before they really had a ton of concepts, they came in to have some conversation with us in terms of what we would want to see on these sites. For us, we feel like these properties are really important because of the concentration of existing affordable housing in this particular portion of our neighborhood. We welcome this addition of market rate housing and a drive towards attempting to achieve a mixed income community. And they have, from a design perspective, taken that knowledge and information and incorporated it into what you see here, making it more inviting. There's no fencing, there's no gates, there's nothing that's keeping the existing residents in the community away from the property. It's very welcoming and it's very beautiful. And so we support this and look forward to its arrival in our community.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
And if I can add one comment, Lillian, sorry to interrupt, but we did submit a letter from the councilman. Bashir Jones was unable to attend the meeting today, but wanted to emphasize his support for the project as well.
Okay, thank you. Commission members?
Yeah, I have 2 comments.
Sure.
This is just typically I don't get into the design as much because I think it's my responsibility to talk about social impact. But I honestly do not think it's worth the squeeze to put the hats on these buildings. It's just extra detailing, more cost. And if they were simple, that's just my opinion. But the more important thing is, Brandon, you mentioned that there are hardly any walks. There's no identification of how people traverse along the street. So my concern is you're going to improve your area. And so you're going to have like no sidewalk and you're going to transition to what essentially is the new improvement. I think there should be some consideration to talk to the council person, Division of Engineering, Construction and Streets to see if all the walks along these blocks could be really reestablished. I'd hate to see that investment sort of be made and you still have dilapidated infrastructure. Chris or Brandon, could you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think August, that's a great point, right? That you know, we can only really control what's on our site and try to, you know, start the, you know, I'll say the domino effect, hopefully, of continuing it on. And again, that's why I think these 2 project sites, especially on East 97, flanking the entrance to Orr Park West, is really important. There's going to be lots of residents walking up East 97th to get to that park, and you want them to traverse these, you know, these sidewalks in a safe manner and ability. So we're happy to start those dialogues and discussions. I don't want to speak on behalf of my 2 clients that are smiling there together, but they will always emphasize and champion those types of discussions because they feel it's important. And it's only going to enhance our project and our development here.
Mr. Fluker, I love that comment. Obviously, we will be in full support of it. In addition to this project, as was already mentioned, there is a park that's being installed as well. So there are additional improvements that are being made in this neighborhood. So it's not just this project that's going to be making improvements into the community, but absolutely can take that feedback back to incoming Councilwoman House to have that further discussion.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we had a motion in a second. I might have forgot. Can I have a motion in a second?
I move approval, Downing.
Second, McCray Scott.
Okay, and this was schematic, correct? We'll see you again with some of the details.
Actually, Madam Chair, they had asked for final at the table. It was written as schematic design approval, but they're asking for final. And
we did get final from design review.
Okay, I'll leave it up to my colleagues about that.
Madam Chair, can I just ask a question, please? This is Kim Scott, the planner for the
Sure.
area and the project. And excuse me.
Oh my God.
I did see the dumpster for the apartment building on the site plan. I don't recall, and maybe you can point it out, what the plan is for trash removal for the townhouses, Brandon.
Townhouses would be just your typical residential, you know, individual trash cans be stored within the 1-car garages, you know, until trash day when they're pulled out.
Okay. Thank you.
So just to verify, local design review did final approval, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, then I mean, I think it's okay for us to switch this to final approval if whoever made the motion is open to that.
I am open to that, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second for final approval from?
I second.
Okay.
McCray.
Motion and a second. Can you take the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight,
Yes.
Motion carries. I think that's all we have today. So thank everyone for the long meeting, and I hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving. Enjoys the holiday.
I would like to say one thing, and I applaud Brandon and the team for actually giving true context to this project. It wasn't just a postage stamp that they occupy, but they told a story. I think that should be the example when people bring their projects in. Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Next slide, please.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, Lillian,
Yep.
director comment for the director's report. Just a quick update, please. And Maurice, you need to change the slide to the next. Thank you. Just real quick, with respect to townhouse code, as you all know, we approved the townhouse code and it's pending the council scheduling it for the hearing. And I just want to make sure that we all understand and aware of that, that we approved the townhouse code and are waiting for it to be put on DPNS. That's been the wait. So we've reached out to Councilman Brickatelli, and I don't know if Charles, Councilman Slife, if you're on the line, if you can help to expedite that, that would be great, because I know it was mentioned last meeting. So I just want you guys to be aware of that.
I can ask him for an update.
Thank you.
I just have a question, Director Collier, concerning that. Relative to the last project we saw, and it was I guess it was the Knez project, and they tried to apply the new townhouse code to what they were doing, and they said they met it with a few exceptions. My concern in that dialogue is relative to the doors or lack thereof, that, you know, perhaps are we getting a desired effect from this current code relative to having pedestrian doors?
Specifically the man doors that you're referring
Yes.
to. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do, and this is always a touchy situation. If something is not fully law yet, we work with developers to get them to meet the spirit of where we're going. And many of them have done a pretty good job of complying. Holding them to the standard of something that may not be in place yet can be a little bit difficult. That's why we need to get this thing adopted, because I think that's going to be really critical. So to answer your question, we saw that there was a push to do that, but the legal precedent isn't there yet because the law isn't in place just yet. And I think that's part of what we, need, why this is so critical to get adopted and on the books.
Well, let me rephrase my question because you didn't answer it. I apologize.
Okay.
Right now, I feel that the current code that's going before council would allow someone to design townhomes without a man door, pedestrian doors. That still keeps it open. That's my concern.
And I remember
it was primarily there was a loophole that we uncovered last week, if you remember, which is the loophole is if it's 3 units or less, it doesn't require a man door. So if we could just like close the loop on that, it's easy to do. It's,
Yeah, but that was brought up when it was adopted. I don't think it was the first time that you brought
it up. We didn't understand it. I mean, I think we understood. I did not know that there was that loophole. So to the point, like, can we just fix that? Because it's not that hard to fix.
Right.
Like before it goes through all this. If it hasn't gone to council yet or it's holding, why don't we bring it back here at the next agenda item and make a modification for that and then send it off to council? It might be wise.
Or you can, when it doesn't necessarily have to come back, that can be corrected at the council meeting.
Yeah.
That has happened. So we can still do it that way. And
okay. Can you do that? I mean, it's a very simple, just to remove that loophole, basically, that you cannot not have a man door, right? Like, so period.
Yeah, we'll work with staff to get that accomplished.
Okay.
Thanks, Lillian and Freddie. I appreciate it.
Thank you, August. That's a great point. All right. Have a great holiday, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Oh, good job, by the
Meeting's
way. It's
adjourned.
11:54.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
I did 2 agendas in one meeting. There you go. You know
Wait a minute,
what the problem is? I can't decide if it's because I'm efficient or I'm just not talking as much. So like it could be like me that's the problem. So